Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your workflow on set. And I saw this picture and I thought this was pretty cool. Tell us what's happening here, Jeff.
So I learned this trick from a DIT friend of mine, and the ProRes HQ files you get about we were using 240 gig and 480 gig half terabyte cards. SSDs, and they can take a long time via the Adamus has a standard USB dock. It's USB 3, and it takes maybe an hour and a half, we're thinking, roughly.
I think shorter, but we realized on set that our computer only had USB 2.
Ah, that's right.
And I think that became the bottleneck. It was like an hour and a half to copy a drive, and he's got 2 or 3 drives at the end of the day to copy after being on set as second AC at the end of the day. And
so because these were SATA drives, I remembered that we could crack the machine open and plug them right into the SATA.
And that was 20 minutes.
And it was 27 minutes for a half a terabyte.
Instead.
So it worked out real well.
All right, so I'm going to change direction here a little bit. We spoke about where did the film come from, a little bit about how do we select cameras, lenses, support gear, how it was to use, and now I want to have a look at how did the camera actually perform on set. What are the different things? And one of the things that the A7S specifically is known for is low light capabilities, but the original A7R. Was not a low light camera. Now the A7R Mark II is definitely a low light camera, and all the way up to 100,000 ISO, it performs neck and neck with the A7S and the A7S Mark II, although those will go beyond 100,000 ISO. But you seldom need to use that because the camera sensitivity is so high. So there's a couple of scenes that we're going to step through. We have a look at the low light capabilities of the camera, and then we're going to have a chat about how did it perform in available light, with practical light, and then how much light you guys augmented. So let's have a look at a clip first.
Shall see. Drink? Oh, yeah.
All right, so Bongani, tell us a little bit about your setup here. How did you go about setting the scene up? What lights did you use? What didn't you use? What was practical? Give us a little background into this.
So most stuff that and where the dancers are under, it's just some rope lights that we had, like an X. And so not very much output. And then, maybe 20, 30, 40 feet back on either side had Joker 800 was the strongest light that we had. Light panels also gave us their new LEDs. The T12, the D12, and equivalents like a 575 HMI and 2K tungsten. And so we're bouncing that and sending that from so far away. And so we don't have really high light levels, and so it really helped with the camera to be able to push, the ISO up and then still have everything be look good and be clean.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I get from watching that scene is that it's very natural looking. It doesn't look like there's been a lot of light augmentation or and it doesn't seem like you went into a lot of trouble. You didn't have the budget. Like how many light trucks did you have, and people running around?
We had a trailer, and not so much a truck.
There we go.
And I think a 4-man kind of crew for G&E.
Right, and you still managed to get a really beautiful look out of a scene which obviously has a lot of emotion. It's a lot of beautiful color and really very little noise. And that's going to take me into another scene, and maybe you can set this one up for us so that we know what we're looking for. This is the running scene.
Okay, so we're I think at the end of the day 3, maybe 2 hours left. The sun up in the sky, and so we're shooting two different scenes that are intercut in the story, and shooting at magic hour, and so light is dying, you know, fast, and so we had to shoot during the day, during magic hour, and then towards the night. You know, to our eye, it was dark, and we had to crank the ISO as high as like 6400, and it was still clean and still held up. I think that's
all right. So what we're going to see here is starting off in kind of late afternoon, and then as we go into the evening, the last scene that you're going to see is where you said it's fairly dark. So let's cut the lights a little bit again.
All right, let's play ball. All right. Now you see close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Hey. Right, Pop? He was in the Korean War.
Wow, what was that like?
It was like a beautiful picnic set on fire.
One of the things that you notice there is that it's not very noisy, and you know, maybe you can give us a little bit of information about how do you generally shoot, especially when you're shooting in a log like S-Log.
We shot S-Log 2, which is what that camera does, and so what we actually did was overexpose everything by 2 stops, and that's kind of been general consensus and knowledge that if by overexposing it, then you avoid putting any information, you know, in where noise might start to appear. And so the camera was at ISO 800, but we rated everything at ISO 200 to overexpose it, and then still had, even though we're overexposing, we still had 5 stops off range above, you know, middle gray or what might be 18% gray, you know. And so it kind of shows a lot of the latitude that the camera had, and then in grading kind of pulled everything back down to normal levels and did all the balancing and correcting and all of that.
Right, so now with, you know, over 14 stops or 14 and a half stops of dynamic range, you know, you're overexposing, you're shooting in a very low light situation, and you send, you know, your ungraded material off to Jem, and he opens it up, and give us some thoughts in terms of, you know, your grading process and, you know, how you found the footage.
Sure. So the way that we graded the footage was essentially we took all the source material and transcoded it to DPX, 10-bit. However, we kept obviously the S-Log curve, and then essentially we graded everything in its native UHD resolution. And then the process itself was, I think it took about, on and off, maybe what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, on and off about 2 weeks. So initially we set the look with Jonathan. I'm based in Toronto, and Bongani and Jonathan are based in Dallas, so it was a little tricky. So initially we set the look with Jonathan, the director, and Bongani, I think, was on a shoot that week, or yeah. So Bongani couldn't make it, so we kind of set the look with Jonathan, and then we sent stills and references to back to Bongani in Dallas, who had a look and was pretty much cool with what we had done. Initially, the tone that we were after was essentially catering to the story itself, not having an overpowering look, just to aid the story and kind of go with how the footage was actually shot, going for more of a...
Clearly you weren't shooting the next superhero movie, and the look actually reflects that, which is beautiful. Should we have a look at the that same clip, and we'll have a look at it, you know, how it goes through the grading process, and you know, from ungraded S-Log 2, and how it wipes to the finished graded look. So if we can get lights again.